Good morning, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. This is a new edition. We're starting back up our morning coffee with Mavs Step Back segments. As you can see, I've got my Mavs Believe sticker on my Yeti thermos here. So this has been here for years, and uh, it's kind of the dead part of the Mavs off season, and there's really not that much to talk about. But we still want to stay in the loop and talk about some other things, as we make our way toward training camp and the start of the new season. So I decided I'm going to come back on here at least one or two times a week and just do a quick morning coffee segment to talk, about my thoughts on the Mavs and the moves that they made this offseason, what I could potentially see happening, as we move forward here in the next couple months, and then just maybe some other life things too. So I'm happy to have you here. I appreciate all of you who have stuck with us through the years, and I hope everybody has enjoyed their Mavs off season. Now, look, I know some people stay entertained, even when the Mavs aren't playing, because you got the Texas Rangers who have been heating up lately. Uh, two thrillers, two thrilling wins consecutively over the Yankees the last couple of nights. So I know people are excited about that. I know people are excited about the Dallas Wings and Paige buckets. If you're a WNBA fan, you've got it going on right now. But if you're kind of like me, and I keep up with those teams from what I see. A lot of people retweeting or just talking about in general on my Twitter timeline. But if you're like me, I mean, the only thing I'm actually watching live, professional sports wise, is the NBA and specifically the Mavs. So this time of the year, I'm more focusing on myself, my personal life, my personal health, all that stuff, and just kind of taking a break. Drew is too, Coach Drew. Um, and then it can get kind of boring in the sports realm for us. So if you're like us, it can be a little boring this time of year. But don't view it as boring. View it as a time to revamp, to recharge your batteries. Uh, if you got a job like I do, I work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. You know, have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to just sit back and focus on other things and stuff that you may not be able to put all of your best effort towards when the Mavs season is up and running. So just a different way to look at it. So again, I appreciate all of y'all who have stuck with us over the years. I know ever since the Luka trade, we've kind of cut back on um, our quantity of content, but I don't want to just always come on here and just talk about every little fart in the wind type of topic either. I just think there's certain things that are worthy to do a podcast over, and there's some that aren't. And I'll be honest with you, the only reason I'm doing this one right now is just because I want to touch base with everybody. I want everybody to know that we're still here. We're still planning things for this upcoming season, this NBA offseason. I mean, it really wasn't nearly as crazy as what Sham Sharania alluded to before it happened. Most of the action happened before free agency, and free agency has just kind of been a dud. So even not just with the Mavs, but just around the league in general, there hasn't been much going on. So I appreciate all of you. I hope you all have had a blessed summer, and are gonna have a great upcoming season as we get into the fall and the new Mavs season, and we'll finish out the year strong, and see how the Mavs do with Kyrie out and having Cooper Flag and all that good stuff. So uh, that's pretty much all. I just wanted to tell you guys that I do appreciate you, and I wanted to inform people because I get it. Not everybody is on X all the time, looking at stuff like I am. But I post on there. I post on our Math Step Back Instagram account. I post on our it's technically our Math Step Back Facebook page too, but Facebook's being weird and not when I was at DallasBasketball.com, about 2 years into it, I changed the page name from Mavs Step Back to Dallas Basketball. And, because we wanted a Dallas basketball page. I was told I could, you know, have complete ownership of the page because I built the Mavs Step Back page. And I do. I have complete ownership of it. But when I resigned from my spot at Mavs basketball.com and I went to change the Facebook name, Facebook has been it's been such a pain in the butt. They won't let me change the name back to its original name, even though it's on record showing that I'm the sole owner. Nobody else has access to the page. Even the link says Mav Step Back still, but so if you see a page Dallas Basketball on Facebook, that's me. I'm no longer with Dallas Basketball, but that is technically our Mavs Step Back page, and we're still working on getting that name fixed. But it may or may not happen. I've heard that it is really hard to try and get Facebook to work with you on stuff like that. But if you've been keeping up with us online, you probably know this. If you haven't been keeping up with us throughout the summer, we have completely revamped our merch store. So if you go to mavstepbackmerch.dashery.com, this is our merch store here. As you can see, we have a Texas Strong Flood Relief t-shirt. Every single penny of the proceeds of people who buy this one go toward helping victims of those floods that happened in July. So if you want to get one of those, it helps a really good cause. And then T Public, who is, this Dashery store branches off from T Public. T Public is matching up to $1,000 of the proceeds from this shirt. So that's something we got going on. This one is my personal favorite. The Mavs Believe design was one of our favorites, fan favorites over the last couple of years, and we decided to revamp it with that picture of Ted Lasso and Cooper Flagg. They were seen at Las Vegas Summer League, and so I took that and did a cartoon type of design for it, and with the the Mavs Believe sign above the locker room door there. So that's a cool one. We got this White Claw design. My guy DJ Coach Drew, he's real into these the high school roots for some of our current and former Mavs players. So we got those. Obviously it has to be a little bit vague, but I mean, you can kind of piece together who St. Patrick's number 11 is, and St. Oliver, Germany. So we got those. We got several Cooper Flagg designs. The Main Event's one of my favorites. We got light colors, dark colors. If you're a Duke fan, we got the Dallas Devils shirt. It's got the Derek Lively, Kyrie Irving, Cooper Flagg jerseys hanging from the pitchfork thing there. It's a pretty cool design. Mavs by 90, Capture the Flag. We even have a Star Wars themed one, A New Hope. There's all different kinds. And then, this one right here, this is actually the shirt I'm wearing right now, just in a light gray color. It's basketball royalty from, Dirk's Hall of Fame stuff. I personally made that design and had my guy Tyler Upchurch refine it for me. So that's a good one. And then obviously we have the GOAT, the OG, the original Mavs Believe shirt. This one is awesome. You can't go wrong with it. So that's what we got going on merch wise. Again, the Mavs, they really haven't done anything the last couple of weeks. They're going to have to, because they have 16 players signed to contracts right now. You can only have 15. Now you can bring people into training camp, but before the season starts, you got to have 15. So somebody's got to get cut, or somebody's got to get traded for thin air, or you have to make a trade where at least one more player is going out than coming in. So something's going to happen. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but we do have something to look forward to this month. It is at the end of the month, but in about 3 weeks, August 29th, PJ Washington will be extension eligible. And I believe from what I've read that he will be able to sign up to a 4-year extension worth up to 89 million. Now it may not be that much. It may be a 3-year extension. It may be, instead of 3-year 88 or 89 million dollars, maybe it's a 3-year 72 million dollar deal or something along those lines. So we'll see where the Mavs go with that. We'll see if PJ ends up, having a team friendly contract, kind of like Daniel Gafford earlier this summer. He signed for a number that kept him trade eligible immediately if the Mavs, if something came up and they needed to trade him. So we'll see. There's, the LeBron stuff in LA is weird. I've been on record. I don't want the Mavs to trade for LeBron. But I do think there's some smoke there. And I mean, look, it's not just me. When Mark Stein is a lot more down to earth with trade and free agency rumor stuff than I am at times. So shout out to Stein. But, when he is even acknowledging that there is some real intrigue, that's his word, on LeBron's end when it comes to potentially joining the Mavs, you have to take it seriously. And, all the reports say that the Mavs would not want to do it unless it's a buyout. They wouldn't want to do a trade, and I think that's the right way to approach it. But I don't know. I mean, if the right deal is there and the Mavs think that they can make that trade and still replenish their depth in another way, I'm kind of scared they might do it. And I don't want them to do it. I don't want to gut depth for a 41-year-old LeBron going into his 23rd year. But, I think after what we witnessed in February of this year, the first day of February, it's hard for me to take anything off the table. So, we'll see how it goes. You still got the Giannis stuff lingering over the league. He's not sure about what he wants his future to be, whether he wants to be in Milwaukee, because I mean they're just a mess right now. They stretched and waived Damian Lillard, so that's a huge chunk on their books for several years. And the reason they did that was so they could give Miles Turner $100,000 contract. And Miles Turner is good. I love the guy. He's been a Mavs trade machine favorite for several years until we, finally got every center in the world on the roster now. But love the guy. But man, you mortgage your future that much for a guy who is 30, who is very limited when he gets in certain situations, like we saw in the NBA Finals. He did not have a good finals. And it's if Miles Turner had a decent NBA Finals showing, the Pacers probably would have won in 6 games. And I don't think I'm exaggerating there. I watched every one of those games. And I think if Miles Turner would have just been decent, not even like good or great, like if he had just been just regular, I think the Pacers probably would have won that series and, wouldn't have even got to a game 7. So all eyes on Giannis. Not sure what he's going to do. But, I could see him wanting out of Milwaukee. And I think he does kind of want out of Milwaukee and wants to be in a different situation. He's probably scared to say that because of the loyalty factor. And I get it. I mean, I do. It's not easy to do something like that. I'm sure Dirk had thoughts. I think Dirk has even admitted that he had thoughts about, what it would be like to play elsewhere before he finally broke through and won that championship in 2011. So obviously he didn't leave, and it was great, and that's part of his legacy now. But there's always thoughts, like when you can't get over the hump. Giannis has gotten over the hump. He got over it early. But now it's just been nothing, since they won that title back in 2021. So we'll see. We got that going on. We got Cooper Flagg to be super excited about. I think he's going to hit the ground running, and I think he's going to help the Mavs win more games than what people think. The Mavs are being kind of overlooked, and I get it. I understand. Luka is looking absolutely shredded this summer. He just signed a 3-year, $165 million contract extension with the Lakers with an opt-out for the third year. He's definitely going to opt out of that third year because then he can sign a supermax that'll pay him over $80 million per season after he gets 10 years of NBA service under his belt. So he's definitely doing that. I get it, though. Luka's looking great. So you have to think that the Lakers are going to be pretty good, even though their roster isn't, it doesn't scream championship contender when you have Luka. If he's completely healthy and focused, then you're going to win. Your floor is still very high, in my opinion. So you got that going on. You got Anthony Davis. He had surgery on his eye this offseason, and he had the abdominal issue last year. There's questions with that. Derek Lively had to have a procedure on his foot to remove bone spurs that was likely created from the previous leader of the Mavs training staff who got dismissed. I believe he got dismissed this summer. There was that thing where they let him play on that foot, even though he had a fracture in the foot. And I don't know how they missed it, but they did, and he ended up playing on it, and it ended up making the situation worse. And then he had bone spurs. So, you got that going on, and obviously Kyrie and his ACL injury, and then you're relying on D'Angelo Russell to pick up the slack there, as well as throwing Cooper Flagg into a playmaking role, which he didn't do a ton of in college, but Jason Kidd believes that he's capable. Cooper Flagg believes he's capable, and you gotta be put into some uncomfortable situations sometimes to grow, and I think that's what's going to happen. So, lots of things to look forward to. If any kind of breaking news happens, I'll come on here the following morning, if not the morning of, if it happens the morning of, and we'll do another morning coffee segment. But I hope all of you have a great day. If you don't need coffee, great. If you do need coffee, if you need caffeine up, get that coffee in, get that tea in, and let's have a good day. Let's have a good rest of the week. Again, I appreciate all of you. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and on our Substack. In the top left corner of my screen here, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a QR code that you can use your phone. It'll take you directly to our Substack. It's completely free. Now, if we have exclusive content, exclusive interviews or something like that, which, it's few and far between, but we do have some good stuff every now and then and some bonus content. You can subscribe for a $5 per month subscription to our Substack, but you don't have to. It's free to sign up. All you got to do is put your email in there. So, guys, we appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Stay blessed. We'll see you next time.